Fire a ton of people with everything you say, dude. So
Yeah,
that's good.
bro. So appreciate it. Well, first of all, let me ask you, what are if you don't mind sharing publicly, what are some of your goals for this year?
Yeah. So our couple big business goals we've got is we want to hit 5 million as a team. And then I'm really trying to develop some leaders to start building teams within our agency. So that's one of our biggest goals to have 3 teams within our agency as well. So that
That's what's up, man.
yeah.
That's what's up. And you guys are close to the office. You guys are only an hour and a half away.
Yeah. So
You
we're in
guys have a
South Bend.
beautiful office. How long have you been officially in the insurance industry for?
We've been in since April of 2023.
Okay. So not
About
super long.
yeah,
Well,
almost 2 years.
it's 2 years. Yeah. It's been 2 years, almost 2 years already, but okay. And you guys have developed a pretty good business so far. I mean, I know we were speaking briefly before. I was like, hey, like I made some mistakes, I did this, but like overall, it's like you guys have had for 2 years in, you guys have had a pretty good amount of success so far in your business.
Yeah. I think with every business, some things develop slower than others, and you have to be just willing to accept what the process is, but still be putting in the inputs. If you're just lazy, things aren't going to happen. But if you understand that you know, your race might be different than somebody else's race, and that's okay. I'm still going to get up and I'm going to go to work every single day. That's what you have to have. And I think that we've understood that. And we get excited about this business. We're super passionate about it. We're excited when new agents come in. We're excited to help clients. Like that's what we were excited about. It's not just mundane.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. What did your what did your first 30 90 days look like in this? Did you come in kind of slower and slowly ramp up, or did you have a good amount of success in the beginning?
First 90 days, kind of crazy. We did recruit pretty heavily when we first started and made a lot of mistakes. We were really recruited pretty much anybody that had a pulse. And we're like, yeah, let's go. Did all the wrong things. You hear a lot of people say that, but it's exactly what happened. But I think we learned from it for sure. I mean, we kicked off like pretty much right away. We were doing a little over 100 as a team within the first 90 days. So we were rocking. And but not everybody is a fit, and not everybody had the same goals and same work ethic. And so some people found that this wasn't for them, and that's okay. But it's a matter of figuring out who you're going to put your attention and time into, and who's going to get up and go to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one thing I actually wanted leading me into what I wanted to hit on this call was we were speaking briefly on the phone before this. And I mean, you guys for your business so far, because when we first started recruiting, we got kind of the same advice at our prior company, which was not good advice. I mean, that was the advice we got was just kind of hire everybody. You gotta, if you're not hiring 50 people a week, what are you doing?
Right.
But we were just, I was asking you about the numbers and what your business looked like, and I asked Greg for permission if I could share, but it's like you guys have, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have about 25 writing agents, and for the business between personal production, annuities, and overrides, like you guys have brought in over $1 million this past year into the business, which is freaking awesome. So
Yeah.
that's a testament of, you don't have to have 100 people writing to, build a profitable business as long as you build it right.
Yeah, I can't speak to the mentors that we had when we first got started on like we avoided a lot of the pitfalls because we were able to structure everything correctly from the jump. And I think that we're in a spot where like it is right. So wherever you're at, like you're in a great spot to start. Um, there's money to be made at every single stage, and that's what the beautiful part about Pinnacle is we have as a producer, you can make a ton of income. You can go to work and do super, super well. As you know, as you start developing and building a team in a business, like a lot of people think like, oh, it'd be so much to do. And I don't know if I can do that and write and all these things. And it's like, just start with five. Start with like, hey, I'm gonna get 5 people with me. And then those 5 people, like watch what that'll do for you and it's gonna make you better. But the way that the business works, like it doesn't take a whole lot to be super profitable, build a good business, build solid culture, especially with just the systems that we've been able to plug into and use. A lot of that didn't exist. And I think that that's been a big reason that, we've been able to retain and keep people, is we were able to plug them into everything that Pinnacle has, and trainings, and, the different offices and things like that, and lock-ins. Those are massive to your business. So I can't encourage whoever is maybe thinking like, I don't know if I should, I'm just a producer right now. Should I bring anybody on? Or maybe I'll wait until I know the business. And it's like, no, like, get some people that you think would be really good. Like, you're basically robbing them of the opportunity by waiting. They might need exactly this opportunity, but you're too embarrassed to share it or whatnot. They need this. I needed this. And so I had Mindy not shared stories on Instagram, I wouldn't be here. Had she been like too afraid or too ashamed to like put that out there that she does insurance, I wouldn't be sitting here. And so I think that a lot of times you don't even understand like the impact that you could have by simply posting about what you do, and how that's going to get passed around. So don't be afraid to do it. Like, you're robbing somebody else of their opportunity. And like, my life has completely changed because she was willing to do that. So you don't know who that person is that's out there for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just sharing the opportunity. And like you said, it's it's really selfish not to, because we have it so good here. Especially people coming from other, sales opportunities. Like, nothing against other sales jobs, but it's just the sustainability. And I love, Mindy's team and seeing her success, because it's a bunch of part-time moms, which is inspires us and inspires us to work harder. Is like, dude, if part-time moms can kill it, become President's Club, Hall of Fame producers, I mean, it's, what are we doing? So it's, truly an opportunity with anyone, as long as you have the right dedication, the right work ethic, etc. Um,
100%.
let's go back. So going back to day one, first 90 days, what were some things that you did well? And also, what were some things that you would do differently if you could start over again?
Yeah. Some things I think we did super well was plugged all the way in to everything that was going on. Like, that was a big piece of advice that we got coming in, was like, hey, we're gonna, like, if you stay connected, it's gonna help. So I'm speaking to the choir because you guys are all on this call right now, and it's January 1. So kudos to you guys, because you could have had any excuse to not be here, and you are here. So, but the people that aren't, like, this is who I'm speaking to. Like, be plugged into the things that are happening, and like right away, we did that, and right away we went out to Jersey. I was at the Munster office. Like, I was at these places seeking like help from Joe, from Gabe, like right away, demanding that, like, hey, I want help. And there's so many different like things that anybody on this call that you can do to better your business by being around those that are winning, and those that are winning at a high level. So get around people like that. If you want something, somebody else has it. So there's nothing special about what they're doing. They just possibly have some more education that you don't have. So get around them, understand what it is, and then implement those things. That's something that I think that we did well when we first got started, is we were all the way locked in on this is what we were doing, and we went all in. Some things we didn't do well, I think, the I mean, the hiring everybody kind of clogs up a lot of the arteries that you have as a business. And so we spent a lot of time with a lot of people that this just wasn't going to be something that they could do. And so that was definitely stressful. And in the beginning, you don't really know. And I think that you have to learn through that. So for those of you, like, the vetting process is okay. Now I have a process where it's like, hey, I'm talking to somebody a couple different times before I'm just like, hey, I think you could come in. In the beginning, I was giving anybody that like said yes, like they were going in with they were getting the course, and we were talking to them every other day. Like, it can be overwhelming. And so understanding, like, hey, it's okay to make sure somebody knows exactly how this business is going to run. That doesn't mean that somebody that you wouldn't normally recommend, or uh, that can't do it. Anybody can do this job, but this business isn't for everybody. But anybody can do it if they want to. So you never know, and people can surprise you. But 9 times out of 10, like, the people, if you have a gut feeling like they're not going to be the right one, vet them out a little bit. Like, go through a couple more processes, interviews, have them sit with somebody else, make them like give you a reason why they should be in this industry. And I think that is something that we had to learn through early on.
Yeah, yeah. Turner comment to the clogging. Clogging up the arteries is a great analogy. I like that. So, okay, cool. And so moving forward, so you guys are doing, and it's cool because you guys are right at that stage where we were, where you guys are right at that point where getting to that first 150, 200 a month, like that's the hardest part. So I'm
No
excited to
doubt.
see what you guys do over the course of this next year because I'm confident your group is just gonna explode, and really just developing that first base of producers, and then from those producers, your leaders emerge.
100%. It's exciting. This is the exciting part. It's the grind part. But the grind never stops. Like there's a new level at the next stage that I'm prepared and excited for as well. So, for those of you that are, got a couple people or, wanting to build and wanting to grow, like getting this stage, like you're gonna put in a lot. Like it's okay. And you're like money that we come in, we put it right back into our business. We invested in a beautiful office. We invested in trying to make sure that our guys are taken care of. So there's a lot of different things that go along with that. But the 150 to the 200 stage, there's a lot because you got some people that that are going to fall off in that stage that you're just basically replacing bodies here and there, and you're building the leaders are coming. So I'm very excited about 2025. Couldn't be more excited. Got a couple guys on the call that decided to jump on with us today, and I'm excited to see what happens in 2025. It's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if I could make a comment on that as well, of just watch you guys from afar. Of another thing that you guys did do well coming out the gate was you guys saw this and you guys treated this as a real business,
Yeah.
not just a downline or a hierarchy of you guys got your office space, you guys established. Do you guys staff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, how soon did you guys get staff?
3 months, if
Yeah.
that. It was probably before that. It was probably 60 days. We had full-time staff member.
Yeah, so got staff within the first couple months and just developing that base level of, you're willing to pour back in the business because you see it as a business and you're willing to invest. And that's what I think that's one of the common things where I see people, it's like, they'll come and they'll have like a lot of success and they'll like get to a certain point and then they kind of get stagnated because like they're making great money and the money's coming in, but then they don't want to put it back into the business to
Yeah.
grow it and get it to that next level.
Yeah. I
So,
think
and
that
there's
it,
operating from a place of scarcity,
yeah,
which you can never do.
you have to be willing to put back into the business, especially like understanding that like that you're not there yet. So it's just like anything. And if you're in a producer spot where you're like making good money and all you want to do is just keep blowing that money, I mean, you can do that, but like what you should be doing is stacking that money up and getting that, putting that away. This business, like a lot of times it can become like, we sell policies and $1,000 is like, oh, it's just $1,000. Like $1,000 is is some money. So like put that money away because there's going to be a day where you're going to need that, and you might have a bad week where the phones aren't treating you right, and you had a bad batch of leads, and you need that extra money. But if you'd gone and you blew it all, this is one thing that we don't talk about enough, and I love talking about it, and I'm going to be talking about it all through 2025. Is does anybody, my guys know, so you guys can't answer, but the number one rule in business, if anybody has it, you put it in the chat. The number one rule in business. Matt, that's not. Yep. Number one rule in business. Andrew, we weren't supposed to answer, but stay in business is the number one rule. And the reason why people go out of business is because they go bankrupt and they don't have money, right? They're not making sales. They didn't handle their finances correctly. And so they go out of business. So like making sure that you are prepping for that is so vital to your business, and you have to understand handling money correctly. And I think that all through 2025, it's a big push for my team to make sure that, hey, once you get these commissions and you start understanding, how to help families and do that well, what are you doing with the capital that's coming in? Are you just taking it and blowing it? Are you taking it and just like you don't have a plan with it? How does that look for you? And I think the better that we get at like helping individuals with that, the better our group's going to become. So that's something that I'm looking forward to diving into even more this year. I think that if you guys are here, take a look at like your personal finances and make sure that you're not just taking what's coming in and just it all goes out, that you are putting money away.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Another aspect of where I see people getting stagnant, and I've been guilty of this myself in certain points in the business of just not having vision. The Bible talks about where there's no vision, the people perished. Of
Mm,
like, there's so much like the potential we have here is so great, and there's so much you can do in the insurance industry. Where if you might have come from a place where you're making $60,000 a year. Maybe you're even making six figures, but then you get to a point where you're making six figures a month, and you never thought that was possible. So you're like, holy cow, like it couldn't get better than this. But then you look, and it's just so important. Like I was on a call with Joe this morning. We were talking about like what are our goals for Prosper this next year? Like how can we get there, and what are the steps we need to take? Because like yeah, we're really thankful and we're really blessed to be where we're at, but dude, we want to grow the heck out of this thing. Like we want to 10x over the course of this next year. And
yeah.
so, we're pouring back into it to get to that point. And I think some people it's whether maybe it's a place of complacency or just low self-esteem or not thinking long term or whatever else. It's just, I would really encourage you guys is like the opportunity is so great. It's so great here. And if you're maybe in a place where you're feeling complacent or you're feeling stagnant or you're frustrated, like, reach out to me or reach out to somebody else, like reach out to someone that's ahead of you. So I was talking to a few guys before this call, it was like around lunchtime when I was eating, and it was like, yes, like it's super important to be coachable, but for me, I'm very selective on who I'm coachable from. Like I don't take advice, and I don't listen to anybody that's on the same playing field or me or doing worse than me. And I think some people it's like, they're either not coachable or they're taking advice from the wrong people. Because like,
Uh,
there's just some people like they talk really good and they make it sound really good and they make it sound like they know what they're talking about, but you look at there, it's like, what are your results? Like I only take advice from people that have walked the walk and done it and have been there. And
Dude, that's
so
so good. That's so
so
fire.
yeah. So just make sure that you guys are, it's if you guys are a place where you're stagnant, reach out. Like I said, I'm happy to help. Reach out to myself, Joe, Greg, like whoever you guys need to reach out to and talk to like, help reignite that vision and that fire and that vigor within you to help propel your business to the next level. Cause like there's so much out there and there's so much potential. And
John,
so we're really gonna
talk.
grow the heck out of this thing this
I
next
want to
year.
talk briefly about mindset is like we're here. It's 2025. So if your mindset isn't right, like you like make that correction right away. Um there's so much to say about we were talking earlier about I love the word perspective. And I think that you need to have the proper perspective of you know what we really have, and we have it so well. We're so blessed, not just for like this industry, but like to be in America, like to be alive, like to be breathing. Like think about the gratitude that we have every single day, to be able to just be free. Like there's so much that that you don't that other people don't have that we have. Me and Jonah got to spend some time in Austin for an
Yes.
F1 race, and dude, wasn't that sick? That was incredible.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a good time.
an amazing weekend. How long do we have, Jonah? What do you typically go on here? You go till about an
Uh,
hour
we
or
usually go for like 45 minutes an hour.
okay, perfect.
So we
I'll
got
keep it
time.
I'll keep it brief. But we were down
No,
there.
you're good. Or long, whatever.
Yeah,
You're spitting some sauce. So we want to hear the
I
juice.
gotcha. So we were down there and talking just about business, things like that. And I don't remember the exact question that you're asking me. And basically I told Jonah a little bit of my story, and he's like, dude, I had no clue about any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it's important. I'm gonna drop a little bit and tell you guys a little bit about my journey and where we're up, where we came from, and hopefully it helps. That would be my goal. So um,
Yes.
I did so about in 2011. I got arrested, and then in 2012 I was sentenced to 88 months in federal prison and did a total of 6 years in federal prison.
And how old
um
were you when this happened?
19 years old,
You were young.
super young. So i I dropped the bomb like that to tell you that I've been through a lot. I've also understood that sitting in a actually standing in a prison kitchen scrubbing dishes, and wondering like what at 20 years old, wondering like what is going on with my life, and like what am I doing, and understanding like okay, like I've got to make some changes. Backing up a little bit, I'll give you a little bit of pretense of like why I went in, and that's just I didn't kill anybody.
Yeah,
So
well, hold on.
sure.
Okay, let me add. I gotta add this. This is such a great story, and I'm really excited for you to share it. So we got to give some context. So we're down in Texas at the F1 race, and you're showing me your tattoos.
Yeah.
And I was asking, I was like, "Oh, when'd you get those done?" You're like, "Oh, I got them done in the penitentiary." I was like, "Bro, what?" You're like, "Yeah," and then you show me your arms, and like you show me your back, and your whole back is done. You're like, "Yo, I got this done. I got this when I was in prison." I was like, "Bro," you're like, "Yeah, I went to prison for 6 years when I was 18." I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" And you're like, "Yeah, I was wrongfully convicted." And so dude, this is a wild story. So if you could just start from the beginning and share with everybody because
Yeah.
people need to hear this. You faced some adversity in your life.
No doubt, no doubt. So I'm 18 years old. I grew up in a super like Christian home, where it was I grew up in a Christian school, Christian home, all that. And right out of high school, I went to work right away, got away from all that stuff and went to work for actually my stepdad, who him and my mom kind of had separated from the lifestyle that I grew up in. Anyways, my stepdad was a facility manager of this warehouse. And he's like, "Hey, you want to come work with me after high school?" I was like, "Yeah, cool. I don't really have any plans yet. Don't know if I want to go to college, what? So yeah, I'll come work." So at the time, I was like ground floor, like I was building boxes in a warehouse. I was on a forklift. I did everything in the warehouse. The warehouse actually housed plastic. It was a pretty big size facility. They did like rail yard stuff. There's a bunch of different things going on, but I was just like the grunt worker, like forklift operator, working crazy hours. Sucked. Did a lot of stuff that wasn't fun, but it was what it was. That was the job, and it paid like I don't know $10 an hour. It was nothing crazy. Um, and so my stepdad was a facility manager of this warehouse. So we had just taken on, that was like a year that I was in. We had taken on a new client, and they were a part of the like a metals division, and so we had all these new shipments for aluminum and copper were coming into this warehouse and being stored. And the warehouse was
And
like
why was this aluminum and copper being shipped in? It was
so
for
the warehouse is a million square foot warehouse, and the metal was actually stored was actually traded on the London Metal Exchange. So like how we have like Fort Knox for like gold, this is like their commodities. So basically, they had to have a place where something backs up their money. This piece of metal backed up like the pound over in England, and then when it got traded on the stock market, boom, the piece of metal got traded out. And we're talking about blocks of like raw material. You're just sitting here at this warehouse.
so a
Um,
lot of money in
a
that
lot of
building.
money. Yeah, and this is in Gary, Indiana, so not it. You would never think that this much metal would be sitting there, but tons of it. So, basically the job was, as the warehousing company, all we did was we would unload it from the truck or unload it from the rail car, sit it in the warehouse, and then when we got told to ship it, we put it back on a rail car or put it back on a truck, and then it would ship out. That was our only responsibility. um so basically, long story short, um we are doing like a count of like, hey, making sure everything's at the warehouse. Every so often they got to make sure everything's there, and they're realizing there's some stuff that's missing. And over the course of about a week, they realized, wow, there's actually more than what we thought that was missing. And turns out there was about $3 million worth of the copper that was they couldn't account for, whether it wasn't on a truck that they could account for, and it wasn't in the warehouse. So at that point, um, the story is my stepdad, he actually fled. And so we had no contact from him. They told me like, "Hey, do you know where he's at?" I'm like, "No, we don't even live together." Uh, and they're like, "Okay, until we can find out what's going on, we're have to let you go, or we'll have to like suspend you." So, all right, whatever. So I moved to out here to South Bend, um, and got a job like working retail in the mall. And about 3 months later, I get a knock on the door, and it's like all these like SWAT, FBI, guns drawn. They like throw me up against the wall and like arrest me for this. And I'm like, whoa, like what's going on? And they're like, yeah, you were a part of like the theft. And I'm like, well, no, like all I'm doing was I was a warehouse worker in the warehouse. And they're like, no, you were definitely a part of it. And so the whole time like this is going on, I'm like, okay, at some point, like this will get dropped. Like it'll be like they've got a mistake here. And like we go all the way through to like the trial date. And I'm like,
And hold on, if I can stop you there
yeah,
and just butt in. So, how long had your mom and your stepdad been married for at this point?
12 years, 12,
12
15.
years.
Yeah,
And you and your stepdad were close, right? Like you saw him
super
as a
close.
mentor and you
Yeah,
looked up to him. So you guys were super close. You like your stepdad was basically like you looked up to him like your real father. And then
100%.
he basically just fled and dipped because he stole his material. And then you're basically left holding the bag at this point.
Yeah. So then they wanted to see like if I knew anything. Um, and I'm like guys, I'm like 18 years old. Like I don't know like, what you want from me. Like I loaded the trucks. So like yeah, I was told to load this truck. I loaded thousands of trucks at the warehouse. Um, so there was nothing to give them. And so they didn't really like that. They thought that was withholding from them. And I'm like, well, there's nothing to tell. So at that point, they had found my stepdad. They had arrested him as well. And within this time frame, um, basically they had made an agreement or a deal with him to give him a lesser amount, a lesser sentence amount to basically say that I was responsible for the entire event. And so that happened. And they gave him like, so his sentence ended up being for his cooperation, I think like 2 years. And then they gave me the 88 months in prison. And so, you know, I, at that point, what you see on TV, and I think I told you about this when we were in Austin, what you see on TV, you're like, okay, cool. You can like just tell your story and it's like whatever. It's like when you're in trial, like they don't let you just like explain like what happened or like guys like this there's no like logic. So they have your number, like you're basically done for. And I didn't know that. Again, I don't even have enough money to pay for an attorney. So like my thing was like there's no way that they're gonna convict me because you don't commit a theft of that large if you don't like get any money from it. And so I was like, obviously that'll make sense to people. I don't have any money. So like, why would I be here like stealing something if I don't have any money to back it up? Um, and that didn't matter either. So like nothing I thought was going to play out, played out. And anyways, they sentenced me and I have no clue like what to expect, what to anticipate. I'm thinking again, what you see on TV, like this is prison, like here we go. Maybe I need to watch a few movies to get prepared and get there. The place that I started at was it was just like it was actually called a prison camp. So it wasn't anything too crazy. They had no, it was like not a double barbed wire fence or anything like that. And yeah, right, prison break. But you know what they did like it was about 200 people were there um and I was kind of like blown away. There was like an like the door was like wide open, like anytime like you wanted to like walk out the door you could. Obviously they had certain rules where you couldn't walk out, but yeah, it was a like basically the hardest part was obviously being away from family. So at that time I was I'll back up just a little bit. A month before I actually got like said that I had to report to prison, I actually had a baby. So like my girlfriend at the time, we had gotten pregnant during the whole time. It was like an 18-month process from the start till like the time that I actually went in. Um, and so we had the judge at the time let me stay out to watch her be born, but I watched her be born. And then in uh, January of 2012 is when I uh, reported in. So yeah, got in and about a year after I was in, a huge law firm out of Chicago actually like was checking out my case, was looking at everything, and they picked up my case pro bono and said, "Hey, like we're gonna help you out with an appeal." So I was like, "Bet, let's go!" Like, been waiting on this. So they picked it up, and they start going and start doing all the different things that they needed to, started doing interviews. Next thing you know, we're back in court. We win our first appeal. Okay. And then we get to like the next court. And then we get to the next court. And we get all the way up to the top, the Supreme Court. And basically at the very end of everything, I get a call from my attorney, and the judge actually said, you won. And so the attorney's like, yeah, you won. And I'm like, bet, cool, let's go. So when am I going home? Like, I've been here for a year. I'm ready to get home and see my kids and get my life back. And they're like, yeah, so here's what happened. So basically they don't want to use like your case to change like the laws. They know that they messed up and you shouldn't be in there, but like it is what it is. And so I was like, so what happens next? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, so I'm not getting out? And they're like, no. And I'm like, but I won. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so what do we do now? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, okay. So literally from there, I was like, okay. So I had to make a decision. Like while I was in, I'm a year in, I'm like, okay, my life is like, I'm not where I want to be, but my life can't stop. And so I chose literally then to um literally like I gotta still live. I took the opportunity to learn. I went to college while I was in. I took college courses, got my associate's degree. I went to every single business class that I could possibly be a part of. I learned from the collective group of people that we're actually in. Like I'll never be around those types of people ever. And so like I learned like their different business practices, what they did, all the different things. And I think it impacted me and again has given me a completely new perspective on the way I view things, the way I view life. And I talk about it all the time, even to my wife, Chelsea. Like I wouldn't be where I'm at, I wouldn't be in insurance. I wouldn't have met her had I not gone through what I went through. And so I look at things, I look at like, yeah, like it could be a shitty day, but it could be a lot shittier. Like I know people still currently that had to go through Christmas, that had to go through, the holidays right now. And they're not getting out for several more years, whether they, made a mistake or they did something that they shouldn't have done, or whether they're in there and they shouldn't be in there. Like they're in there. And so like I think about that when I'm like wanting to like feel bad for myself about like how bad like I'm stressed. I'm like, I'm okay. like life is good. And so I think that the more that you find something, whether it's your story or whether it's other people's story, to lean into, to tap into when you're feeling discouraged, the better off that you can be. Like somebody has it worse than you. I can promise you that. So fast forward a little bit, I ended up we got a little bit of time. So I ended up going from one. So after the appeal didn't go through, I ended up getting a recommendation from the judge to basically get a year off my sentence if I take this like alcohol and drug program that they have in prison. But I had to transfer to a different prison to be able to get to be a part of it. So I make the transfer. I get there. I'm finally getting all settled in. If moving to different places is very difficult because they're not like like it's not like it's like you take a taxi service to get to the next spot. So the different places have different rules, what they allow in. So, anyways, it wasn't the easiest thing, but got to the next place, get signed up to take this class to get this year off my sentence, go to take it. And literally I sign up and the guy's like, yeah, you don't get to take the class. And I'm like, you guys got to be messing with me. You're pranking me. I'm like, I moved here for this class. And they're like, yeah, you don't have a drug or alcohol problem. You never had that in your background. So you can't take the class. And I'm like, but the judge said, if I take it, I get the year off. And they're like, yeah, well, unless you have a problem, you don't get to take the class. So like from there, like that hit me super hard because I was planning on getting out. From there, I kind of like got lost my way a little bit and got really frustrated. And ended up finding myself landing into what's called solitary confinement. For those of you know, like it's called the shoe or the hole. I got caught with I didn't get caught, but the bunkmate that I was with, he had a cell phone. I had used it a couple times. Anyways, it got found. I got popped out for it, and we ended up spending. I spent 72 days in solitary confinement. I can tell you this, like if anybody who's ever been in like solitary confinement in any way, like 8 hour or 20 hours, 24 hours a day in like an 8 by 8, like you start going nuts. And I spent 70, that was through the holidays. It was through my birthday, through Christmas, through Thanksgiving, New Year's, everything. Um, and the only thing that kept me sane, I read the Bible through cover to cover twice. Um, and like literally it was the grace of God, like I made it through like that specific part of the sentence. But made it through, got into they sent me down to another prison down in Mississippi. I spent 2 years down there, finished up, and did was able to jump in with a work crew down there that I learned completely a whole new way of business. There's I could probably spend 8 hours talking about prison stories just because I lived it for 6 years. But the um the moral of what I want to get across to you guys is like through all of that, my my life didn't stop. Like I knew like, okay, well, I'm here. So how do I have something I'm shooting for. And so if again, if you're having a rough day or things aren't going well, like it's gonna be okay. And think about those that, that don't are less fortunate. Could be people in a different country that are less fortunate. We have it super, super good. So that would be what my prison story. And then I've came out, was able to get a job right away, working in car sales. And then fast forward 3 years later, here I am.
Man, talk about adversity. That's such a great story. Yeah. So the next time you guys are having a rough day on the phones, think about Greg's story. Um, but man, it's like I would just it's talk about a roller coaster of emotions
Hmm.
and of frustration because it would have been so I'm sure it would have been so much easier of like, hey, I got 6 years. This sucks. I'm gonna write out these 6 years, but like, oh, we won the case. I'm gonna get out, finding out you don't get to get out, and then serving all this time, and then all right, well, I'm gonna get out soon, and then okay, I don't get this year cut off and transferring to prisons and all these different things is man, that's yeah, it's we're truly blessed to be where we're at right now, and even just I putting myself in those shoes of in your shoes of like, especially how young you were too, is like,
Yeah.
like thinking about all the anxiety of like, oh, I'm gonna get out, and I'm a felon, so I'm not gonna be able to get a job, and mine probably felt like your entire life was over, and
Yeah.
so
And for sure. And I think that with anything, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. And so like you're never gonna get something that you can't take. And so as much as like you might feel like it sucks and this is hard, like you'll be fine as long as you continue to just have perspective and keep pushing every single day, keep grinding, keep working, keep searching for what your end goal is. And I knew that like, hey, this too shall pass. This wasn't going to be forever. And how do you make the best out of the situation that you're in? How do you continue to do that day in and day out?
yeah, yeah, the mental fortitude you developed in prison. What did you get? Did you? So it sounds like you got a good amount of business acumen. So you learned some business, and you got a degree in college, or in not college, but you got your college degree in prison.
Yeah, school
Did
the
you
hard
get
knock
like? Did you
life.
get into like just killer shape? Were you just doing push-ups all day long, or
Oh,
were you working
dude,
out in there too?
shredded. Yeah, of course. There's
Yeah,
nothing else to do. You come up with like the different types of ways to work out. Like we would fill like water bags full of like water and like be like tying them up to like broomsticks and like benching those and curling like everything that you could think of imaginable. Like that if you can lift it, we tried to come up with the weight system to make it work because there's not like traditional like weights in there. Um, so yeah, did the whole thing.
prison jacked,
Prison Jack.
prison jacked.
That's why if Matt tries to compete with me in chess, but like it's a losing effort every single time he tries to come at me. Was able to sharpen the chess skills as well. So a lot of things. I know a lot of things by being able to have that time.
Yeah, man, what an experience! What an experience! Bro, before we move on, what was, if you wouldn't mind sharing, like, what was one of the craziest things you saw in prison? Like, did you see anybody just get like stabbed or killed, or like,
Yeah.
what was one of the crazy experiences you had in prison?
As far as like traumatic, as far as like injury to, I wasn't a part of anything like that. Thankfully, God protected me in that. But yeah, I saw there was a couple murders at the place that I was at. Um, it was at 1800 the last spot that I was at is like 1800 people were at this place. So I mean, you can imagine all walks of life, all types of people. um I'll tell one quick story. So I was transferred, I was on a bus, and I was going through, they call it like the transfer hub, it's Oklahoma City. And they like, prison's like designed to like put like the worst people with like the worst people. Like it's not like meant for everybody to be together, but like the transfer spot, like everybody's together. Well, again, I'm like 22, 23 years old. And I'm at this like hub, and I'm like playing cards with these guys. And like this other dude like pulls me to the side. He's like, "Hey man, like I probably like wouldn't be playing like too aggressive. Like might want to like not play cards." I'm like, "Dude, whatever. Like I'll play cards. It's cool." Like that dude's like in for murder, and like you start pissing him off, like it could get really bad. And I'm like, "Ah, it's fine." So, anyways, long story short, we ended up go through there, get through that facility, and we're on our way to like the actual prison, right? So this is in Mississippi. And um they put me up at the very front of the bus. And there's probably like, I don't know, 70 or 80 inmates on this bus, all different levels that they're dropping off at like different spots, different facilities. And I was the guy to help like pass out like all like the lunch bags and everything, so I didn't have to get like shackled and handcuffed. And everybody was like so pissed at me for like not having to get be shackled, because they were all like cuffed up. And so we go and we drop off the first group at this brand new penitentiary. And we're sitting outside, and it's the US Marshals. We're sitting outside, and I'm like, it's taking like an hour. And like, I'm like, dude, it takes this long. Like, this is like a full day thing. Like, we're not gonna get to the new place. It's gonna be dark. And hour goes by, hour and a half. Finally, they come back out. And the marshals, 'cause I was at the front, they're like, yep. As soon as we uncuffed them, they all started stabbing and punching each other and like went crazy. And so we just let them kind of do their thing. And then once they were done, we got our handcuffs and then we left. I was like, dang, all right. Well, hopefully it's not that like that at the place that I get dropped off at. And it wasn't. It was not too bad. So, but that was
Damn.
that's like the type of people that were on that bus for sure. Like it was definitely not all roses. There was definitely some easier points, but definitely wasn't all peaches and roses.
Claudia's face says it all. She's like,
I
oh my
got more
God,
for you, Claudia.
man, we could, well, I was
Can't
telling
call you
Greg,
like
it's, we're gonna film a whole podcast of all your prison stories.
Let's
Cause
do
this
it.
is, man, what, in closing though, so we got a few minutes left of this call. Just what advice, living through that and now just giving, you have a new perspective on life. Like,
Mhm.
it's, you talked about how much more grateful you are and thankful for you are. Is just like, I'm sure you don't take anything for granted. Like even going outside and breathing in the fresh air, just the freedom
100%.
to walk down the street and be able to go eat at Chipotle, and get lunch. Like all these little things that we take for granted on a daily basis, I'm sure you're thankful for and you reflect on and enjoy.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
so what
that,
would, go ahead.
yeah, I'll just echo that. Obviously, like we we can all understand like if you can come to a place of gratitude, um like in every like wake up and just be thankful. It helps your mental, it helps your mind, it helps your attitude. And attitude in this business and mental and mind space is like everything. Like truly being passionate and truly being excited to help the next person and help the next agent. Like I get so fired up and excited about it, for many different reasons, but especially like knowing like how where I was and where I've come from. um just be grateful, be thankful. Gratitude goes so far.
Yeah. What was the mindset that got you through? You was 6 years total you served then?
Yeah, I did.
What was the mindset that got you through those 6 years?
So I'll be crazy not to say that God had a big role in that. And I think that I had grown up in a Christian faith early on, left it. And then when you're put in a situation in a spot like that, like it either forces you like away from God or forces you to run to him. And I did. I ran to like, hey, I need you. Like I'm like that's how I was able to persevere and get through was daily communication, a true genuine relationship with God. And in my mind, like I stayed connected in that way. And it's pushed me through and has made me who I am. So
Man, that's awesome. That's beautiful, brother. Well, what a good note to end on. So, Greg, happy New Year, brother. Glad
happy New
you're
Year,
out.
man. Yeah,
Glad to have you a part of the Pinnacle squad, and let's make 2025 the best year yet.
let's go, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. God bless everybody.